Hello. How's it going, everybody? We're back for another live stream episode. So, making sure everybody can hear me, getting things warmed up. Glad you guys are here on such short notice. Seems like the streams are popular. A lot of people have reached out and said that they like the format, and of course, people watch it. So, here we are again. We're going to try this again and see how it goes. So, first of all, before we get started, just wanted to share with you guys a little bit. I sincerely appreciate all the support lately. The channel is doing really well, and I just appreciate so much the support. It makes me more interested in doing stuff like this, keeps it fun and engaging. And this is just a slightly different format. The live streams are completely different than the polished videos I typically make, and I really enjoy it. So I'm kind of stoked that you guys are all responding so positively to it. So if you haven't already, of course, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, but I've been posting polls with questions on just different topics and stuff. And the one that I posted yesterday was just asking if you wanted to see a live stream on the Composite Elements in Oxygen 3.7. So this is what we're going to do today. So we're going to cover the new Composite Elements, kind of take a look at them, play with them a bit, see what we can muster up in terms of, useful features out of them, and then we'll go from there. So we'll get started here in just a second. I want to give everybody a minute to connect and get warmed up, but I am excited to see everybody, so I hope you guys are all doing well. Kyle, there is no place for complaints. There's nowhere to share that because that doesn't happen. No, I'm just kidding. If you do have a complaint, you can take it up with management, but the manager is off duty today, so not ready for that. Taylor, thanks. This is a one of one hat. I only printed one of these, and I wear it all the time. I take it out like on the boat and go swimming in it, and it's gone all around the world with me. So yeah. All right. So what I need to do real quick, I just remembered is I believe I need to get my Oxygen license added here so that I get my Composite Elements, and I failed to do that ahead of time. So look at me not being prepared again. But I will get this sorted out real quick. So Oxygen license, paste that in, and then we should be good to go. So if this will update, then I will bring it back on screen for you guys. This happened last time. Now I will remember though, and I will be prepared. So Taylor, I actually was considering doing like that Printful e-commerce store, like I said, and I would just make some generic like mugs and like hats and, maybe like the giant blanket. Because Kyle actually did that for the admin bar, did a couple like limited run products, and people seem to like it. So I was considering doing it as well. All right, so let's see. The test for any product is if you can go boating with it. You're right. I had a similar hat to this, but for a different project, and it blew off in the middle of the ocean and I lost it, which was a very, very sad day. So, all right. In any case, we should be good to go. So the first thing I'm going to do here is go ahead and create some posts on this site so we have some stuff to play with in a little bit. 25 is kind of a lot, but I'm not really too worried about that. We will go ahead and get some photos attached to these. 502, that is not what I wanted. Maybe 25 is too much. Maybe I'll bump it down to 15. I don't want placeholder images. I want actual lorem ipsum images. Kyle, you're right. Honestly, the dolphin probably ate it. Hey, but I do my part. You know those like ring things that like Gatorade bottles come in? I snip those bad boys every single time. So oh, yeah, you guys are right. I forget to change the screen, Avalon. Thank you. All right, here we go. Yeah, I forget to change the screen. So here we go. All right. So, yeah, but anyway, I do my part, Kyle. I do my part by snipping those little Gatorade bottle things because I don't want to be the person that, endangers wildlife, aquamarine life, I guess you might say. So we have the posts here on the site. So let's just go ahead and hop into like our Oxygen template real quick. And we're just going to take a look at some of the composite elements. So I've played with them a little bit here and there, but I want to explore the dynamic slider more, the accordion kind of like toggle guy, whatever that's called. And then what else is there? The flip box I have a video on the mega menu, but we can still play with that. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. So I'll just get rid of this default stuff, pop in a section. Plastic bottles are murder. I don't know what you mean, but yes, they are. You're right. That's why I have a reusable water bottle. Shout out to Walmart, $5 on that. In any case, let's take a look. So the drop-down button is pretty cool. Avalon, if you're still watching, this could be a replacement for the drop-down buttons that we did on your site that might be a little bit more mobile friendly, I guess, because we had, those issues like in the modal and stuff. But like, I think this would be a pretty reasonable solution for pretty much anybody that needs a drop-down component. Now, of course, right out of the box, it's not the most interesting looking thing, but I think the objective here is not so much to have something that looks amazing out of the box, but is just purely functional. And then it's got all the classes and stuff for you to be able to style it. So, Kyle, yes, I appreciate the heckle because it keeps me in line, keeps the stream fun and lively. So I appreciate it. Doug, I appreciate the shout out on snipping the little plastic bottle rings. I do my part here and there, I try to not use plastic water bottles, and I snip my... Well, actually, that's not true because I'm buying a plastic product with Gatorade. So anyway, forget what I'm saying. But yeah, so these are pretty flexible, I would say, because you can put pretty much anything. Nope, you're not allowed to stop. You're already too deep in, Kyle. Yeah, so these are pretty flexible, and since they're just divs, you can essentially put anything you want in them. These are link wrappers, but same thing as a div, just with a link attached to it. And then you would have the hover effects and stuff. So this one is cool. It's interesting that on the back end it does. Oh, I didn't save. It's interesting on the back end that it doesn't work. Like it doesn't actually function, but on the front end it does. I wonder if you can add a transition effect. Do you do it to the submenu element? Let's see what class we're working with here. So we have drop-down button submenu, and then maybe you would actually just want a class like, your PS transition like we've been using, and then go effects transition 0.2 ease in out. So then if we save, now do we have a simple transition effect? Yeah, so that looks better already. And then I think, in a typical website, let's pop in like an image and sort of make like a header, because I envision this being fairly useful for header buttons for more simple sites. So we'll use this example logo that I have, set that to like 75, maybe 125 width. It's pretty big. Let's go 100. And then let's go horizontal. Space between will be good. And then let's just add some text links. So text link, we'll duplicate that a couple times. And then home, about us. Yeah, you guys are super distracting, but I appreciate it. Locations, and then, I don't know, contact or something. So obviously, this doesn't look very good, but I just want to get like a simple menu because I think kind of like the video that I already made, this would be useful for like a, I don't know, like an account dropdown. Please make the logo bigger, Elizabeth says. Done, I'll do it. Let's go that big. How about that? So let's see if we can fit our menu links in here. And then I set that to 25% width, but we probably want it a bit wider to give us some space here. So like space between at 40%. I'm gonna drop this back down because that's kind of silly, but I was going for the lulz. So then I think I want my drop down button inside of this div. And actually we probably want to make it bigger. So what if we just, let's go 60%. And then middle align. And then it's interesting because this, yeah, Kyle. So I think my channel slogans are, this doesn't look good. That's pretty cool. What are my other catchphrases? Which is pretty cool. Yeah, I say that all the time. I can hear that in my own head. Doug says, now please get rid of all the white space. Oh yeah, what am I doing? I'm not using grid. I'm such a noob. So column count 3. Stretch. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, well, I guess I have column count set to 3, but I would actually want it to be 2 because I have the image and the div. So then my second one, let's go column span 2. Oh no, I need a 3. I need a column count 3. Good point, Taylor. I appreciate that. So we want that to be col span 2. And then how do you change the alignment of one particular row? So you go explicit. I just want to align this on the right side. Can I just go margin left auto? Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. So all I wanted it to do was just stretch over to that right side. Yeah, so anyway, I'm getting kind of off subject here. I was supposed to be looking at the drop-down button. But yeah, so like what I would envision this to be used for is like, you know, account, and then the drop-down would probably be good, and you'd be like log in, sign up, contact. But I think you would want the submenu, first of all, to be white as its background, wherever the class is. Where is the color assigned on those? Submenu. Oh, is it on the individual link elements? Yeah, it is. Okay. So I actually don't want that. I just want a hover color. And that gray is super dark. So maybe we'll bring that up a bit. And then the submenu, let's go with, maybe let's go like a light box shadow right at the beginning before you hover on an individual link. So we'll go like 10% opacity, 0, 5, 10, 0. Andrew, hydrogen keyboard shortcuts. I actually don't have hydrogen on this demo site, but I probably should add it because it would certainly be useful. But I try not to use that in tutorial videos just in case people don't actually have it. I don't want it to be something that like I'm skipping steps that they're not sure how to do. And so I try to use it myself, but typically not in tutorial videos. So then on hover, we have that effect. And yeah, so then the other thing I would probably do is change some of these links. So like the login, you'd be like, you know, user logged in equals false. And then I think I would duplicate this and change this to log out, and then just switch that condition. So condition user logged in equals true. And then I forget off the top of my head what the logout URL is, but it's like wp login slash, I don't know, question mark logout or something like that. I'm totally making this up. But just as an example, just make it link to the logout page unless you already have a, unless you have like a plugin that's handling that for you. Yeah, Alan, that's exactly it. Add-on agnostic is my idea. Taylor, I would love to gift everybody a hydrogen license, but I would go broke. Everybody deserves it though. It's such a fantastic addition to the suite. All right, so log in, log out. Yeah, so basically that's what I would do. I'd probably change this button to be something a little bit more interesting looking. Where is the color on this? So Oxel drop-down button. Where is that coming from? So the label is our gray color. The trigger doesn't have a background color set. Oh, is it this? Oh yeah. So it's that whole drop-down button, not just the trigger. Okay. So then I think I would go almost like the inverse of whatever your global colors are. So like my border green, I would do that like maybe 2 pixel width. And then we would make our trigger typography. Let's see how it's actually set up. Is it, yeah, it's on these classes. So we'd go text color. Hey Stratos, welcome in. Yeah, I know there are a couple people doing lives today, but I'm doing it now. So let's see. What do we have so far? Also, I'm going to change these text links to be text color of black and then our hover color of green to make it a bit more consistent. And then let's go PS header links. I need to copy those styles from the ID to that class, so I'm going to do that. And then let's stick some margin on the right side here. Then let's add these classes to our other text links so we get a similar effect here. I've never really used Editor Enhancer. I know a lot of people do, but it's not something I've played with all that much. All right, so then we're going to middle align this div. And then I want some more spacing here. So is that to do with my grid here? Let's see, if I go column count of 4, and then I make this one go column span of 3, then my question from earlier was like, for this row, how do you change the item alignment so that it's centered or just takes up more width? Do I go flex grow 1 on this guy? Let's see. That's interesting because I don't have the flex option here. What about if I take this off? No. So all I want it to do is basically just, oh, it's because I have margin left? Yeah, okay. It's because I had margin left auto on this. And so it was pushing it. Interesting. That's something I didn't know. Yeah, so then I guess I would take that off, and then I would make the horizontal item alignment right, and then just essentially take my header link class and add some more spacing here. Maybe like, what would be an interval from 15, maybe 30 is probably not quite enough. So 45, something like that. Yeah, Stratos, I've seen a lot of people complain about it, but like, I don't really understand the complaining if you consider how much we've gotten for free over the last few years, especially if you bought Accodion back in like the 2.0 days or even prior to that, like I did. I've paid one time and have gotten everything. So I don't know how you can feel justified in complaining in that sense, maybe for people that barely missed it, but like that's just the way deals go. Sometimes you just miss stuff. It's like, I don't know. To each their own, I guess. The other thing I was working on before I got distracted was the hover effect here on these drop-down buttons. So right now on hover it doesn't do anything, but what I want it to do is essentially invert itself. So on hover we're going to go background color will be our global green, and then our trigger, I guess actually we need to go to our text hover, and that's going to go to white. And then our icon hover is also going to switch to white. And then let's see, where are we at now? So we don't have a transition effect here. So let's go back to our button and add PS transition. So now, there we go. So looks like my icon hover is doing the same thing that I had before, which was where that icon hover color doesn't take effect until you actually hover over it with CSS. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. I don't feel like getting off the rails with that. Taylor rubbing it in our face. For a long time, I bought Accodion and I didn't use it for like a year, and that passed and I didn't touch it at all. Gene says, people complained about ACF Pro when the price was increased months and months in advance. Yeah, that's a great point. That absolutely happened. And if you missed it, that's just the way it goes. You just miss it sometimes. All right, so let's save real quick and take a look on the front end. So the only issue is that I guess I need to change the typography color on that button so that you can actually read it all the time. But that makes the drop-down look much, much better. So out of the box, it's obviously totally functional, but this looks better than it did before. So let me go back to the drop-down button and let's go, I guess, on this class to hover, change the typography to white. And then I think on the trigger, we need to change the hover state that we said. Oh, I guess I did it on the actual label itself, not the trigger. So on that label, I'm just going to remove the hover style. Same thing for the icon. Remove that hover style. And then I think that should do the trick. No, it didn't. Whoops. Do you have to go on the trigger itself? Hover, typography, white. That's super annoying. Do you have to do it with CSS since there's two elements inside the link wrapper? I want it to make both of them white, and I'm trying to avoid CSS just because that would be nice. Strato says, personally, I would be happy to pay the extra cost of the composite elements because they're going to improve the elements and save us time. Yeah, exactly. There's going to be more of them to come, so that to me makes it worth the money. And then they're just going to keep getting better and better. So it's exciting for me, and obviously that means that there's a recurring source of income for them, which will help increase sustainability of the business overall. I just think it's a good move overall. The addiction that people have in the Oxygen community to lifetime deals is kind of frustrating, but I mean, that's just the way it is. So real quick, let's go use Hoverify, inspect this guy, and then I think we'll want to go with our div here. And actually, I'm just going to use Chrome Inspect real quick to see on this div, where are we? This one right here. If we go to our hover state, our color is already set to white. So where is the disconnect happening? Is it on this actual code block? I don't think it is. So we're still, let's set the hover state here. So the trigger hover is already set to white. You have to use .dropdown button hover icon. Let's see. You have to use drop-down button hover. Oh, I see what you're saying, Taylor. So I need to stick a class. Or no. The class already exists. So the icon class, drop-down hover, label class. Pods is a little limited. Yeah, I don't actually know anything about pods. That's a good question. So hopefully somebody else can chime in there. I wonder if there's... Oh, no, there's no CSS. I was hoping it already existed there for us. So what if we just take this class, and then we go dot hover, and then we would take the label and the icon, and then comma, right? Icon, then this, and then color FFF. Is that what I'm looking for? So basically I'm taking the class of the drop-down button, and on hover, it's going to target the button label and the button icon, and I want it to be white. So in my head, that should work. Oh, let me get out of Chrome Inspect here. There we go. So almost perfect. I guess I missed the icon, something to do with the icon here. Oxyl drop-down button icon. Not sure what I did there. I guess maybe I have to do something else to the CSS, but that's close enough. Maybe somebody can chime in. Oh, okay. So you got to do Oxyl drop-down button hover there as well. Cool. That's not hard. Nope. What did I do wrong? Oxyl drop-down button hover. Repeat the Oxyl hover. Oxyl drop-down button icon. Did I just not save? Maybe? Nope. What is it? What is it? Oh, it's no comma? No. The comma breaks it. Oxyl drop-down button, hover, button icon. Hey Martin, good to see you. I actually don't even own Swiss Knife. It's just not something I've really spent any time with. I've seen videos on it, but it just didn't seem like something I needed to add to my personal arsenal. I'm going to keep moving on because we don't need to spend 2 streams in a row fumbling around with CSS. So let's go take a look at some of this other stuff. Now the icon button is interesting because this is essentially just a link wrapper that already has some classes and some structure attached to it. So we have an icon that has a class. We have some text that has a class inside of basically just a div that's been turned into a link wrapper element. So that one's pretty basic to me. But some people might find that useful because I'll admit it wasn't immediately clear when I first started using Oxygen how you can create a button with an icon. And in a lot of builders, that is a standalone element. So I guess that does make sense. I'm just going to keep adding sections here so we have unique items on each row. Horizontal divider is also an interesting one because this one is not immediately apparent as to how you do it. So let's take a look at how this is structured. Now we have this div that's kind of the container here. It has a class which its width is set to 100%, and that's about it. There's pretty much nothing else set there. Then the left line is actually a code block. I didn't know that. So it has a class attached to it. Its background is whatever color you want. In this case, it's the composite global color of gray 6, which of course, that's another good point, is when you add these composite elements, they actually bring in a whole set of global colors for you. So you can see composite elements. So realistically, if we wanted, we could change this to be gray 6. Let's change it to some sort of green. Actually, I'm going to go back to my other hover color that I have right here and just change it to this. So there's a super cool example of how the global colors work. Easily able to override what was there before. So that's kind of neat. So in any case, let's take a look through this code block. There's no PHP. The CSS is FlexGrow1, which, can you not do that straight in Oxygen? Does it actually need to be FlexGrow1 in this code block? Because if you go to Layout, like if you go to this div, maybe you can't do it on a code block. I guess you could do it on a div. If you go here and go to Layout and scroll down, you have FlexGrow where you could realistically type in 1. But here it's not really going to do you any good because this is not the actual line itself. It's the container. But I'm sure they would have thought about that. The Oxygen people would not type in some code unnecessarily. So in any case, all this is doing is targeting the class of this code block. And it's saying FlexGrow1, which basically makes it take up all the available space, which is cool. And then there is no JS in this. Then we have the center element, which is just an icon, and it inherited our global color change. Icon size is 16, and then is it just positioned in the center? It must be, yeah, kind of neat. All right, and then the right line is going to essentially be the same thing except just on the left. So that's actually relatively simple, and it would be very flexible. You could make these lines thicker, I believe. How would you do that? Oh, it's just the height of the actual code block. So that's kind of cool. If you wanted to make it 8 pixels instead of 2, you could certainly do that. Could you just use a div which has 3 pixel height and uses FlexGrow1? I think you realistically could. So what if we just take this class here, inside this div, we'll go div, add that class, and then layout. Why doesn't the FlexGrow options change? I mean, why don't they appear? Because like on this div, the horizontal divider, if you go to layout, none of the display options are set, but down here you have the Flexbox child controls. So those are there, but on this one that I just added, or can you not do it on a class? No, that doesn't have anything to do with it. That's so weird. FlexGrow1 is super useful addition to consider for your ongoing restaurant menu project as a header line between items and prices. Yep, that is very true. So I still don't quite understand why the FlexGrow options don't appear down here sometimes. I wish Elijah was here to answer that. That would be nice. In any case, this is extremely flexible. We don't really have to change all that much. All we're dictating is the height. So I was trying to reinvent the wheel there. There's not really any point to do that, but you certainly can do that. Martin says as far, they said that the CSS code can be moved to a style sheet, but to insert it as an element, it has to be in that class. Oh, okay. That's why they're in code blocks instead of style sheets. Got it. So next up, after the horizontal divider, what do we have? Is the icon list. So again, this one is relatively simple, but it might not be immediately apparent to new Oxygen users how you might build this. So let's just take a look at this. We have one wrapper div here, and it has one class, Oxel icon list. And what do we have here? So a filter, there's actually nothing there, even though the little guy is lit up. Pedro says, I think flex grow options only appear when the div has child elements. Oh, so let's go back and add another div real quick. And then I'll add in a text element. So then div layout, let me uncheck flex here. Still nothing. That's super weird. I'll need to investigate that further. I don't quite understand that. In any case, back down to the icon list, there is almost no styling here, but that class exists, I think, so it would make it easy for you to do something like change the width to 100%. And then if you had two icon lists, you could realistically change one, add the margin beneath them, change the width back to 50%, something like that. Let's see. All right, so now over here, let's take a look at how we're getting these alternating background colors. So we have icon list row, and then that has a width of 100%, so it takes up all the available space in this container. And then let's see, so the alternating color here is another class. So Oxel icon list row dark. So that one is just basically a global color set. So I guess you'd have to do this manually. Like you'd have to duplicate the rows that you want, right? Because this is not dynamic. So if you did it like this, then you would essentially need to like reorder them, which is not, I should not have dragged this. That's gonna go horribly wrong. So I guess you would have to go like this. I wish they were labeled like row alternating color. And then here's where hydrogen pack would come in handy with the drag and drop. So this is less than ideal, to say the absolute least. Oh my gosh, what a mess. What a mess. Yeah, but I guess you could just duplicate it a couple times, and then if it's not supposed to be the alternating color, you could just delete it. And then you could just go like dark. Search for the word dark. All my core classes are popping up there. So row dark, there you go. So I guess the easiest way to be would not try to drag and drop them to reorder, it would just be to re-add the classes. But yeah, that's a pretty useful element. And then again, because all of these are, they come out of the box with classes attached to them. If let's say you want to change the padding, so you want to go like 16 left and right instead of 8, or you want to go 24, whatever you want to do, that is all available for you. If you want to add some margin beneath them, then yeah, you have all those options, which is nice. So I'm going to delete one of these icon lists, and then let's go check out another one. Oh yeah, Martin says hydrogen has control up and down arrow. Yeah, that is extremely useful. You're totally right. Next up, we have hover scrolling image. So this one's going to be a fun one to play with because I actually haven't really played with this at all. So what you need is a tall image, and then it's going to scroll down the whole height of the image, which is pretty sweet. So let's take a look at how this is set up. So we have a div, and then its background image is just a super tall image. Now let's go to like oxygenbuilder.com, and then if we use Hoverify, we can go to take screenshot, capture full page. It's going to take this full page screenshot for us, and then I guess I need to save it. Oh, well, I don't want to zip. I think if I go to the bottom, nope. Save, take my dialogue over here so you guys can't see the secret stuff I'm working on. And then we're going to go back over here, upload, and then this one. So this is going to be that full-size screenshot that we just took. All right, so now we have our own hover image here. Yep, that's the screenshot we just took, all right. And then how is this actually working? So there's the hover icon code. So in our PHP, there's nothing. CSS has an opacity of 0, and then a transform translate Y. So this is actually when you hover over the image container, that makes the icon go away. It has a really nice fade effect that I just realized. If you look, as you hover, it starts to fade, and then it goes down and disappears. And then if I let go of the mouse, it comes back up. That's pretty cool. I didn't even notice that. I like that quite a bit. It's good to kind of go slow and take a look at this stuff. So that is what's happening with this CSS right here. And then what about in our JavaScript tab here? There's not anything right there. And then hover image scrolling icon. So you could change this icon to whatever you want. If you want it to be like a, is there like a mouse cursor? Yeah, I guess there is. That would indicate to me a click though. So mouse is probably not the best one, but I was just thinking of some other icon. We'll go with a heart. If it's like a portfolio and you're like, I love this one, then you could totally have that. So that is actually extremely simple. That's pretty interesting. Very neat. I expected that to be quite a bit more, what's the word, intricate. I guess for a white image, then you might want to add like a border on the bottom. Maybe not. I don't know if this is going to look good. Probably not. All right, so add another section. Stratos says this can be done with the background of a div and a transition Y on hover with slow speed. Cool. That's neat. I haven't tried that. I mean, since that's so simple, I think you could recreate it in Oxygen relatively easily. And he says you cannot have flex options in a child div with flex option. Parent divs with elements have flex options. Oh, okay, gotcha. So that's why then they use the code block on that. Makes sense. Can the portfolio be wrapped inside of a device frame? Well, yeah, because that tutorial that I shared a while back for the device mockups, all credit to Taylor on that one. It's essentially the same thing, except it just has that frame. So yeah, you could totally stick this inside of that, that device mockups. That's a really interesting idea, actually. I like that. I like that. Let me go look real quick and see if we could slap that together real quick. It's funny because I actually reference my own tutorials fairly frequently, which is funny. So I was going to go look and see if it would be quick for us to toss that in. Can't exactly remember. We got to add some custom code. Yeah, I guess we'll do that another time. Code snippet, scroll bar. Yeah, we'll worry about that another time. That's a really good idea, though. I like that quite a lot. Maybe we'll come back to that in a little bit. So hang on. I'm not saying we won't do it today. I'm just saying not at the moment. So let's keep going. What do we have up next? So hover scrolling image, that completes the basics tab. So under helpers, we have dashboard tabs. This one's pretty cool. This will be definitely useful for like an account panel. You know, like MemberPress comes with a bunch of tabs, but they don't look that good out of the box. So this is just an adaptation of the actual Oxygen tabs component, which is pretty cool. So let's see. We have that translate effect. So really there's not a whole lot to go over here because the tabs component is already in Oxygen. So what's going on here with this dashboard tabs code block? So that's where the transition effect is coming from. 0.3 seconds, ease in, out. And then when it's hidden, it goes to display flex, position absolute. Then it transforms on the x-axis, 100% of the viewport width. And then when it's hidden, it goes display initial. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Relatively straightforward. I wonder why that was added as a code block and not just attached to the classes. Maybe there's, again, some other reason you can't do that. And then this is just a bit of JS to show and hide those classes to make the content go away. You can see its tab content is the class that it's targeting, and then it adds and removes the hidden class to that. So pretty straightforward. And then a spacer here. I bet this is probably using, oh, it's CSS. Well, no, it says pointer events none. What are we doing here to achieve that spacing? Flex Scroll 1, okay. So same thing. Using that Flex Scroll 1 to take up all the available space, which interestingly doesn't seem to do anything, which is kind of funny. Not sure why that is, but oh well. If you wanted it to be the same background color, it's that Composite Gray 1. Let's see, where is it? Composite Gray 0, Gray 1. So that would make your tabs on the left-hand side all have that same effect. Actually, there's a little bit of that overlap there, which looks super cool. I want to refresh real quick and look on the front end. I like that effect a lot. The way that it sticks over the left-hand side like that, that's neat. The only annoyance there is just the height of the content in this first tab as compared to the second one means that there's a bit of a jump. So I feel like you would probably want to go to your tab content, set the tab, like, let's go minimum height, I don't know, like 350, 400? Maybe 400 would be good, so it doesn't actually have that jump effect. So downloads, subscriptions, support, that looks really neat. I like that quite a bit. All right, let's keep on keeping on. So another section. Strato says, this is perfect for Woo user dashboard. Absolutely, that is 100% useful. Completely agree there. So next up is review box. There already is a review component, which is interesting. Where is it? Oh, I guess it's called testimonial. It's not review box. Let's add it real quick and compare. So the review box one just looks a good bit better. The testimonial is a bit more like, I guess not templatized, but you know, it's got a bit more of the Oxygen way of controlling stuff, which I guess is good and bad. If you don't want to have to worry about completely customizing it, that's what the old one looks like. Whereas this new one is done more in like a manually built way, but it has all of the classes there attached for you. So you could definitely just take this whole component if you like the way the review box looks and stick it in like an ACF repeater. And then you could have like a, you know, a review, not slider, but you know, a review repeater, I guess you would say. So this one is pretty self-explanatory. There's one div. I'm going to delete this testimonial one so it's not confusing. One div that wraps the content here that's set to a background color of gray 1. And then inside of that, we have two rows. First one and then second one. We have just an example title. You have your text for their name, and then the review stars is just a series of icons. So that might be hard to replicate without something that can stick in some reviews, but I also don't know if you're using somebody in like a team slider, you probably don't want to rate rate people on your website, I wouldn't think. So there's that. Jason says, one thing I noticed while using composite elements is when you want to use multiple, if you want them to be different, it becomes tricky. Any secrets for that? Yeah, so good point. Let's go to like this review box. I'm gonna stick some margin underneath it, like 25. For example, I use 2 accordions and I had to change all the classes and code. It depends on how different you want them to be. I mean, I guess if you want it to be completely different, you might have to change the class names. Although, like, you could essentially copy the styles from one class to another and then just change it from there. So you kind of have your baseline. So let's see. Now, what I was going to do here is like, you have your review box, which has your background color of gray 1. But let's say you want to like invert the colors. You could essentially just go like Oxel review box, and let's call this one like light. So I'm just going to add another stacked class here. So Oxel review box light, add that, and then our background color, let's go, wait, do we want it light or dark? I guess this one is technically dark-ish. Not really. I'm just going to make this a darker color. So then we're going to go back to our second one. On the review box light, I would change my background color to maybe one of these. And then this is kind of a bad example. Basically what I'm doing is adding stacked classes, so you could invert it pretty easily. And then in this case, you would probably want to add a class. Let's see. So you have details, details wrapper name, and then maybe like light. This is the wrong way to do this, but hopefully you follow what I'm trying to say. Go light, and then you would change this text color to like white or something. Same thing here. Take that class. Title underscore light is what we're going to do, and then our text color like that. So you basically just add stacked classes to achieve this layout. And then that way you're not having to reinvent the wheel. So then text color white, something like that. So in any case, that is probably how I would do it. Just depends on, you know, your particular use case if that makes the most sense for you. So hopefully that's helpful. Let's see. I just added, Jason says, I just added a 2 to everything and copied and pasted them just like you said. Yeah, essentially the same thing. However you want to name it, your site, completely up to you. All right, so next up, a review box is kind of, I don't know, not that interesting, I guess, but it might save you a little bit of time if you're building something like that. So dynamic slider is pretty cool. Now, I've made a video on this because it's essentially just swiper.js is what it's using to output this stuff. I'm going to basically collapse this whole structure panel and get into Swiper here to make things a bit more clean for us. Fernando, I appreciate you saying I'm the best. I just try to make cool stuff. I hope you guys enjoy the videos. Thank you so much. I said at the beginning of the stream that I just appreciate all the support because you guys continuing to watch and, you know, like and comment is the reason why this stuff is so exciting to me, and it keeps me going. So I appreciate it. All right, so in our code block here, PHP is basically pulling in the swiper.js code. So it's bringing in the style sheet and the JavaScript code itself. And then this is a bit of an explanation on how this works. So let me actually go real quick to swiperjs.com. And what it's doing in Oxygen, let's see, where is the getting started? I guess it's right here. You can see this is what it's pulling in, the code that we just looked at. And then if we scroll down, this is how it's actually creating the HTML layout. So you need one div with the class of swiper container, then another one with swiper wrapper, and then you have class of swiper slide. So with that, if we go take a look at our slider container, you can see that this has the class of swiper container, which of course you just saw it requires, and then there's another one for the actual styling. Then if we expand this, we get into the actual repeater component itself. That has the class of swiper wrapper attached to it. And then in this particular case, where is the width actually set to define this? Okay, so I step back up real quick to the swiper container, and that's where the height of this particular div is set. So if you wanted to change it to 250 or 750, you could certainly do it. You do it right there on the swiper container. Except it's actually set on the dynamic slider class, not the swiper container class. So keep that in mind. And then the repeater, swiper wrapper. What I was curious is, where is it set to take up 100% of the width here? Oh, it's this. It's way back up here. So it's actually the main div here, Oxel dynamic slider. That's set right there. That width is set there. Okay. Moving back down, we already looked at the swiper wrapper, which is just a class attached to the repeater. And then in this case, the query is set to, post type of post. So in this case, we do have some example posts on the site already because of course we added those in earlier. And then the swiper slides, this is just the main repeater div that has that class of swiper slide attached to it. And then I don't think there's anything else tricky here. Again, for some reason the filter is lit up, but there is nothing actually on it. And then you just have your content inside of that slide. So we have our heading, which is just the post title. You know, the dynamic data post title is what that's using. And then if we go take a look at this on the front end, I don't think it works in the back end. No, it doesn't. So if we refresh real quick, come down here, then our slider is dynamic. Is this already set up as the post permalink? Yes, it is. And then it's hard to see on that particular image because it's dark, but if you look down here, you can see the dots. So swiper.js has a bunch of configuration, and you can look, once you initialize the swiper, if you go to API documentation and you scroll down, pretty much everything you want. This is a massive page, but you can set how many slides are visible at one time. I think it's slides per view, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, slides per view. You can basically set it to like 1.5 or 3, 3.5, whatever you want. So let's try that real quick. We're going to go over here to the dynamic slider code, take a look at JavaScript, and then you would need to add it roughly down here. There is some kind of nuance to how this stuff stacks together. So you'll need to read that documentation if you want to really start customizing this. But if we go slides, actually I think it's lowercase s, slides per view. Let's go like, I don't know, 2.5. And then save this. Unfortunately, it doesn't update in the backend without a page refresh, I don't think. But if we save, then you can see we have 2.5 slides per view. With this layout configuration that we have, of course, it doesn't look that good, but you can see that would be how you could set a slider like this. Now, a realistic example would be if we set this section's width, or sorry, size and spacing. If we set this section's width to full width, and then let's kill the padding on the left and right side, then it might actually look better. Yeah. So 2.5 still probably isn't quite right. Maybe you would want to do like 2.2, so you see the far edge of like the beginning of the third slide, if that makes sense. But it's completely functional as is. Now there's a few more things to take a look at here. So where are those buttons coming from? So our pagination and our nav is, let's see. There's the classes right here for styling the previous and next buttons, as you can see. Then the pagination bullet color is set to black. Let's go to white, because it seems like we have a lot of dark images on this website. So with the way that I've done this in the past is by setting up actual like divs that then become your pagination. So trying to determine where those are actually coming from, unless it's just automatically stuck in there for you. Last week I purchased the Oxygen agency license. I think you had to purchase it before February 12th, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. Let's see. So this is a div, but it doesn't have the Oxygen IDs attached to it. So maybe these are added for you automatically. Let me go into the dynamic slider code in JavaScript and let's see. So, oh yeah, this is where it's coming from right here. So you can see pagination and previous and next are added with those divs right there. So that is pretty cool. Gene says, can you try to remove the arrows down in a div and see if the slider moves? Not sure what you mean by that, sorry. Can you move the arrows down in a div? Oh, you're saying like get them outside of the slider itself and like put them down below it, for instance? That is a good question. It is probably positioned with this CSS here. So previous and next color, can you go? I actually don't know. I'd have to play with that. That's a good question because I have had that asked of me, where essentially you would have like all of your navigation down below the slider. So could you go? Let's see. I'm just going to try it out here, just so I can kind of see it in real time without having to refresh a million times. So on this, could you go position absolute and then? Well, no, it wouldn't be. Yeah, that's another good way to try it. Because by default, I think the positioning is just going to happen there based on the CSS that you're importing. So let's go with this section right here, and then let's stick in a div. This one is, what is that class name? JavaScript. Swiper button previous is the first one we're going to start with. So go back to this div, stick this class on it, and it positions it up there. So that has to be the CSS from the code that you're importing, through that code block. But if we go div, can we just set the layout to absolute bottom? No. Fixed bottom 0? No. J1M says, on this type of library, you just create your div of arrow and then declare your div class name inside of your JS. Yeah, that's essentially what it's already done. You have to go to relative for Oxel dynamic slider container and then go for positioning. Okay. So layout, relative, and then this div here. Layout, absolute. No. I think it's being overridden, isn't it? That is, I'm going to make a note of that right now. That's a good tutorial or future reference video on how to get dynamic slider nav outside of slider. Cool. All right, so I got that saved. We'll come back to that because that's a really interesting one. But the other thing is I wanted to have some gap between these slides. So somewhere in here is the word gap. Space between. Yeah, okay, so space between is the distance between slides in pixels. So let's do that. So we're going to go back over here to the JavaScript code for our dynamic slider. Once again, slides per view is 2.5. Let's change that to 3. So then our space between, let's go 30 pixels. And then we need a comma, not a semicolon. Seems like it's mad about pixels. Do I need to leave off the pixels? If you use margin CSS property, it's just the number. Okay, I guess I don't need pixels. So save that. And then let's see what happens on the front end when we refresh this slider. Beautiful. We would need to adjust the spacing of this stuff right here, but this would be fantastic for like a product carousel at the top of your website. You know, you could show more than one product at the same time. And then you still have all of this. By default, you can drag it with your mouse. As you can see, I'm moving it back and forth. And I don't think keyboard controls is on by default, but if you want keyboard, then you have all of those options as well. So keyboard is enabled equal true. So let's go with that real quick. I want to toss that in. So we're going to stick that like right below here, except I forgot the K on keyboard. So make sure you copy the whole thing. So apply that, save, refresh, and then is arrow keys working? Yes, it is. So you can see I'm going backward and forward with my arrow keys. Super neat. Alan says, off topic, but idea for a video, why I don't use Accodion for e-commerce, what is missing? Well, I can answer that. Part of it is because I've not really built that many e-commerce stores, and well, not every, but a lot of projects that I've done end up going really wrong that involve e-commerce, partly because of my own inexperience, but also just client budget doesn't typically correlate, and then WooCommerce has always been very restricting, I feel, because prior to Accodion, you know, I was using pre-built themes, and so it just never was really something I was very comfortable with. So that is basically it in summary, but I am going to spend some time with Accodion WooCommerce. I'm planning on doing a video here pretty soon, probably live on stream so you guys can see some of the hurdles we run into. But back to the dynamic slider here. This thing is extremely cool. What else would be some other configuration we can do here? So navigation, events, let's see, autoplay is one. I think autoplay is already on, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe. Is it not? I thought it was. I'm waiting. Yeah, it is. Okay, so it is on by default. Is it set here? Yeah, the delay is 4,000. And then there's a couple other transition effects. None of them look very good except slide, I don't think, but the Accodion team was kind enough to document those here for us. So slide, fade, cube, cover flow, and flip. I don't think any of them look that good except slide, to be honest. Then what else do we have? Lazy load, fade, cover, flip. Those are the ones we just talked about. Thumbs, that's pretty cool. So in addition to controller component, Swiper comes with the thumbs that is designed to work with additional thumbs swiper in a more correct way than controller. Object with thumbs component parameters. Okay, so I guess you have to have a separate variable here. That is probably outside of my pay grade, if I'm being perfectly honest. But that's pretty cool that you do have that. I want to play with that as well. So what exactly do you do? Auto scroll offset, slide thumb active class, swiper instance, swiper used as thumbs or objects with a swiper parameter. So that says constant. Where else do we have that? I've already seen that in here somewhere, I thought. Maybe not. That's another thing for me to try to look at is the thumbnail component. I wonder if there's an example. Let's see. Let's go back to Swiper, the home page, see if they have any examples, because I want to see what they're talking about. So navigation, infinite loop, dynamic slides, thumbs gallery. Yeah, we definitely need to get that working. That's cool. So once you change, then the thumbnails also change. That's pretty cool. So what does this source code look like? Where is our JS? Initialize swiper, var gallery thumbs, gallery top. Okay, so you have to define two different galleries essentially. One's for thumbs and one's for the actual like gallery component itself. Kind of cool. We'll come back to that because I think that is worth some exploration, considering you see the thumbnails in galleries. I wonder if there's a way, oh, you can swipe them separately. That's cool. Very cool. I like it. I like it, I like it a lot. All right, moving on. What else could we do with this slider that would be kind of interesting? Any other layouts I can think of? I don't know. Seems like we've kind of covered that one. All right, I'm gonna move on here. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it's kind of like nested sliders because see, this one here says var swiper new swiper container. And then I think you're basically adding another variable here that would add another slider underneath it, essentially. So I guess the question would be, do you need a second repeater? That'll be another thing for me to explore. Thumb swiper of swiper.js. Okay, so we're going to stick in our new section and continue the trend here. So what do we have after dynamic slider? So table of contents is a really cool one. In this case, we probably want to stick it up at the very top of our site. And let's save and take a look on the front end so we can see what it picks up right out of the box. Back to the top here. The only thing it picks up so far, because it's looking for heading tags, is welcome to your dashboard, which is right here. So is that the only heading tag we have across the entire site? So that one's H2. Let's go change some of this stuff here. So let's stick in an H1 right here, and we'll call this our list element. Add some margin underneath that. And then what I'm going to do here is just duplicate this and change this one to an H2. And then we're going to go, this is an H2. And then we're going to duplicate that. This is another H2. I want you to see how these nest. So then I'm going to duplicate this and change this to an H3. This is an H3. Actually, they're not the same case, so I'm going to change that to be consistent. So save this guy, refresh, and then you can see that basically it's going to categorize these. So H1s actually aren't picked up. I forgot about that for whatever reason. I'm assuming you could change that in the code. And then when you have an H2, it becomes kind of like your title here. And then any other headings, H3, 4, and 5 underneath that are all sort of nested. So let's go, there's an H3 right there. Let's go H3, 3. I'm going to change this one to a 4, and let's see how that behaves. So this is an H4. This is an H3. Also, I just want to change these a little bit so you can see. save that guy and refresh. All right, so here you go. So that welcome to your dashboard is an H2. If we had H3s or H4s underneath that, then those would pop up in here. And then this is what we just did. So all of these are linked. If I click one of these, it's going to take me down to that particular element. There's a little bit of an offset because of the WP admin bar that makes it so it kind of covers it up ever so slightly. But that table of contents element is pretty cool. Now, just like everything we've seen so far today, all of this stuff is completely configurable. So all of these have classes, TOC sub 2, sub 3, sub 4, etc. And then, if you want to change the primary item H2, let's say you don't like that background color, we could change it from EEE to like the atomic blue, and we could change the typography to something like white instead. Give it a little bit more delineation like that. And those are all going to take place for you because of the fact that all of that stuff comes right out of the box with those classes, as you can see. Strato says, does anyone know when the add I and the structure elements? Yeah, I saw that recently. I don't know when that was added, actually. Good question. It also puts the what is that? The conditions icon there, so that's kind of interesting. And then it changed to a pencil instead of the hamburger at some point too. I don't know when that was either. So, oh well, kind of a neat addition. The table of contents, if we take another look as well, you can see all of this stuff is basically just text elements that automatically become links. And then the TOC code here is a bunch of JavaScript that basically is scanning the page, adding the IDs, and it works like magic. Now, the other thing is that I've looked at this when it first came out, which is a cool demonstration of the, what do you call this stuff? The composite elements. It wasn't able to pick up content that was added through dynamic data initially, but whatever change they made, it has since been fixed, so that's kind of cool. So that was a demonstration where they didn't have to wait for a full release of Oxygen to be able to fix that, which I thought was pretty cool. The other thing is that there's also TOC skip. So if you add this attribute to, let's say, like, what would be a good example here? So welcome to your dashboard. If we go down to that heading, if we go to attributes, isn't it, is it just TOC skip? Is that all I have to do? I actually haven't done this. I just learned about this earlier. So what is it looking for? Oh no, not dashboard tabs code. I want table of contents code. It is, if the heading itself or any part of its parents have the TOC exclude attribute, skip it. So save. Refresh. Oh yeah, okay, cool. So that's all you have to do. So let me go back here because I did kind of jump around. I wasn't sure exactly how this was going to work. So on this heading, let's say I don't want it to be picked up by the table of contents. All I had to do was go to TOC skip and then like add that attribute of TOC skip, and then it doesn't pick it up in the table of contents. There was one other one in here, I'm pretty sure. One other attribute that we can play with. What is it? TOC skip. There was another one I thought I learned about. Maybe not. Maybe it was just that one. Either way, that's a nice addition. Pretty cool there. Strato says, heads up, Crocoblocks are working on Oxygen integration. To be honest with you, I don't even know what Crocoblock is. I haven't looked at it. Probably unwise of me for me not to have looked at it, but that's just the reality of it. Okay, so there's a bunch of other ones. Man, we're already at an hour and 10 minutes. So we're going to kind of move through a few of these. So Flipbox. This one is pretty self-explanatory. In the back end, you have the Flipbox front. Hover over this and see the effect. I want to change these images real quick. So how does this work? This is just a div. Is it a background image? Where's it actually coming from? Oh, the image is on the class itself. Interesting. Let's change it to this picture of like a, I don't know what that is, maybe a train station. And then the back one, we're going to do the same thing, just change the image to be something a little bit more interesting. We'll change it to the picture of this clock. Actually, no, we're going to go with the cityscape. That looks better. And then let's take a look at how that behaves on the front end. All right, all the way down. So all I had to do was hover. When I move my mouse back off, then it flips. What does the click me do? Nothing. Oh, it's just a button. It's a button that doesn't go anywhere. So there you go. And then that one's pretty self-explanatory. What else? Section indicator. Now this one is pretty cool, although it would take some setup on your behalf. So the section indicator is basically these tabs here. So you basically need to put this, which is just a div, I believe. You would basically need to take this and stick it like wherever, you know, at the top of your page. And then I believe you need to nest these sections inside of it, right? I'm just going to nest some. Oh, did I mess it up? I broke something. There's something over here. I just probably need to save this and then refresh because it's going all sorts of wrong here. Apparently Crock-a-Block is an element or library add-on. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. Cool. I don't even own an Elementor license, if I'm being honest. Signed up for the free version so I can play with it. I broke it. Our site is very broken now. What did I do? Section indicator dot. Do you not actually need to nest it inside of here? I thought you did. Don't put them in it. Oh, that's kind of weird. So is it just finding these sections for you? I'll just get these back out. So section, let's see, this section is actually our header. So do I just put it in the page? Oh, so it does it for us. I did not know that. And then it also, I don't remember it having this, this pop-up label for us. That is sweet. I think somebody in the Accodion group, I'm pretty sure it was Amanda Lucas, was talking about wanting this. So what else? There's some other section over here. Or is that our section indicator? Oh, I have another section in there. There we go. So how is it finding the label here? So SI skip. Oh, okay. So you could make a section skip. So let's go, well, let me save this and then refresh real quick and take a look, because this is going to be similar to the attribute that we just looked at to skip a table of contents heading. Let's say we want to skip, I don't know, like this dashboard one. Any of them, doesn't really matter. We're going to do essentially the same thing. Just pick a section, go to the attributes, and then it's SI skip, I believe. So then this one shouldn't be included in our section indicator over there. So now, oh, it is. What did I do wrong? SI skip. I guess I did something wrong. Attributes, SI skip, apply, save, refresh. Oh, maybe it's because I'm already at that section. I already had that in my, nope, it takes us right to it. Weird. It's totally possible I'm doing that wrong. I don't know. Okay, anyway, the section indicator one is pretty cool. What I wanted to know, oh, my dot is also outside of the code. I wonder if that's having any impact there. So in the back end, there we go. Now it actually looks good. The dot is just an icon, right? What's happening here? So link wrapper looks like it's the icon. So there's the label here, and then the label text. How is the text being generated for those labels is my question. So ID, data label. Oh, do we need to add, let's just do it like on our first one here. So is it attribute of label and then home button, for instance? I don't know that this is going to work, but it looks like it's looking for an attribute. Maybe I'm using the wrong attribute IDs. Label, home button. jQuery this data label index. I'll have to report back to you guys on that one. Not exactly sure why or where it's picking up that label from. Labels on hover. Let's see. Mouse enter dot. Remove class hidden. Var label jQuery. Oxel section indicator label. Hello from Athens. Stratos, I was actually curious where you live. Are you in Athens as well? jQuery this find Oxel section indicator label add class label hidden. I don't know. Oh well. That's a topic for another time. I really just wanted to go through these relatively quickly, but I keep finding myself getting distracted. Listening distracted, but did you use TOC skip? I did. I did use TOC skip on the table of contents and then SI skip on the section, but it didn't quite work. So I'm going to have to come back to that stuff. I wanted to look at some of these others. So section indicator, circular counter is pretty self-explanatory. Let's see, how do these work exactly? So circular counter code, I don't think we need to play with that. Circular counter outer, inner, number, percentage. So that's just the content of it. So the label and the sublabel, code block, JavaScript, counter start 0, counter end number.html. Let's see here. Root threshold, number 100. What is it going to do on the front end? Does it basically just count up to 100? So am I just changing this number? Is that all you do? Let's change it to 85 and see if it counts up. It briefly flashed 85. Let's see if it stops there. Yeah, it does. Wow, that's cool. That's super cool. So all you got to do is change the number there. I was thinking you would have to go modify that JavaScript, but instead all you have to do is just simply change the number. Very cool. I am a fan. Now, I did notice in the code over here that you also have the counter start 0 and then the counter speed 50. So maybe let's bump the speed up to like 75 and then let's start the counter at maybe 25. So you could create some animation on the way that those counters start to increase. Yeah, so there it goes. It started from 25. It doesn't really feel all that much faster, to be honest. But that's cool. And then how is that ring color actually being determined? Is that a border? Ring inner, top, right, bottom, left, number, percentage, label, and sublabel. Circular counter outer. Border says it's set, but I don't see that. Is it the CSS of this? No. BG fill is background color class. Again, where is that coming from? Are just two circles, I think, one on top of the other. Oh. Okay. So the outer circle says its background color is that. So then it's not a hover state. Attributes, data fill color black. but it's not black. It's that. It's that color. So oxyl circular counter is, oh, it's just color. So oxyl circular counter, so it's typography. There it is. Okay, so it's the typography color on that particular class. Interesting. So then we'll change it to something that looks completely different. So right now it's kind of that aqua color. So then let's just switch it to like blue. Well, not blue, because that's just a slightly different variant of what we already had. Let's go orange. Save that guy. And then refresh. Cool, and now it uses orange. Very, very neat. Strato says, I think you can put the time for the counting like 2 seconds from start to end. Oh, okay, so counter speed, is that 75? Counter start, I don't understand what the speed is though. What if we wanted to go way faster? I'm gonna do 500 and crank that bad boy up. So then refresh. Oh, okay, so the bigger number makes it go slower. So I don't understand what the interval is though. Is it like milliseconds? Maybe it's milliseconds. I guess that would make sense. Whew, that's fast. Okay, well cool. So there we go. We figured out how to change where the counter starts and also the counter speed. So 50 is pretty reasonable, and then counter start there is 25. So then what I want to do is duplicate this a couple of times, and then I'm going to change these to space around. Let's play with these a little bit. So our circular counter here, this one we're going to change from orange, which actually I don't think that was the right one. So our typography from orange, let's go blue of some kind. And then I want to change this one to start at 0. And then maybe let's change this one to 100. And then this one here, let's expand this guy. Go to typography, and instead of, oh wait, I'm changing the class, shoot. I didn't mean to do that. Let's go to purple on that one. And then I'm gonna change the timing function here. So we're gonna go counter start. Let's just go with 0, and I'm gonna change this one to 150. And then I guess I need to go back here real quick and change these colors because I was doing it on the class, which you might want, but in my case, I don't want that. So red, that'll be fine. All right, now I just want to see what this looks like. Oh, I changed the timing function. It's super slow, but at least you can kind of see it. So now you can have multiple colored bars. You can make it stop at different places and change the timing function. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, neat. Definitely worth playing with. All right, moving on. Next up in our exploration here, we have circular counter, number counter. I'm assuming is going to be essentially the same thing. Let's take a little look-see here. So number counter code. Yeah, so counter start is 0, counter speed is 50, and then you're just going to change this guy. So I've helped 1,500 and, well, I don't know, 155,000 clients. Let's see how long it takes that to load. There we go. Cool. So that's going to take a super long time to load. I didn't think about that, but it is working. So yeah, neat. Next is the switcher. Now this one's cool because this would be like for your pricing plans. And I don't know if Stratos, you used this in your recent video on the WP Grid Builder. I can't remember, but I think there's annual and lifetime plans for them. But that's a perfect example of where this would be useful. So you have a switcher for yearly and monthly, and then these are going to be, you know, whatever you call them, like your monthly plans, and then these are going to be your yearly plans, which makes it super flexible. So let's just take a look at how it looks on the front end. So then if we switch this guy, yep, looks good. So there's a nice switch component. Looks kind of like the iOS switch, which is cool. Oh, okay, you copied the pricing tables only, gotcha. I was there for that video, but I couldn't quite remember. Yeah, so let's see. switcher code, the JavaScript here. So it's toggling an icon between active and then, yeah, so it basically just adds that active class. I got a one eye on the time here. Let's see. All right. Anyway, so that one's kind of cool. These are basically just divs. Nothing really special here in terms of layout. So you can easily modify this stuff, put whatever you want inside of it since they're just regular Oxygen divs, which is pretty cool. And then switcher, back to top button. Not sure how this one is executed. So that one floats down in the lower right, which is really cool. Back to top code, what is it doing here? So scroll distance is 300. Set this to the scroll distance at which you want the button to appear. So that's neat. And then it's looking for on scroll distance, window scroll to top. Okay. So it's just going to do it for you automatically. So let me delete this real quick. And then we'll click our, actually let's go all the way down. And then let's click our back to top. And oh, it took us there. I just didn't even notice. It happened so fast. I wonder how you could apply a transition. Oh, okay, so it works, but it just takes you to the # top. Yeah, neat. All right, and then this is going a bit slower than I anticipated, but image comparison. Let's take a look at this guy real quick. Actually, I don't want these counters really anymore. So delete these guys. All right, so is it, oh, it is a global function to slow it down? I guess maybe so. Now, this is cool because I see this a lot. I've been asked about these before. How do you do a before and after image? Now it's here. Another use case where the composite elements are extremely cool. Comparison code, I don't know what any of that means, so I'm going to leave it alone. But basically, we have a div on the left, and then comparison icon, before label, and after label. So you can change all of these if you want it to be like, you know, before renovation, and then after renovation. You can just type in that stuff. Pretty cool. And then are the images inside of this class? It looks like it is. I don't think that actually has any impact. Do I have any interior shots of buildings here? Not really. We'll go with this one. Before, oh, I want to change the cover. Let's go to cover. And then this one over here. Let's find another picture of a house real quick. And then we'll do, that looks awful. I'm not going to do that. All right. So let's take a look at how that looks on the front end. Perfect. Looks really nice. I like that quite a lot. That one's really neat. And how does it look on mobile, I wonder? Does it work? My page is super jacked up, but it looks like it does work just fine on mobile. Sweet. All right. Let's see. Setting, that. Yeah, I guess you could use the built-in scroll to hash links. Yep, probably so. Image comparison and Accodion is another cool one. All right, I'm going to get rid of this image comparison because it's taking up some space here. So we have our accordions, and these are cool because one toggle closes the other, which I like quite a lot. It keeps your page really compact. I hope Oxygen v4 does have lasers. That would be pretty awesome. So accordion row, we have just a div inside of it. Inside of that div is the icon and the actual text for the accordion name. Now the icon here is actually, it's a chevron down with a hover effect, which I believe takes place in the code. Yeah, so Oxyl accordion icon, it's basically rotated 180 degrees, and then on hover it flips that other direction, which is cool. One thing that I was able to do that I don't have time for today, unfortunately, is took this accordion and basically took one row and one content and stuck them inside of an ACF repeater. And then I was able to take that and turn it into like a dynamic accordion that like a client could go in and edit on the back end and not have to worry about messing with oxygen. So that was pretty cool. You could definitely keep that in mind. Let's see. Next up is the WordPress tab. So the mega menu I already have an entire video on, so unfortunately I don't have time for that today, but that is really cool. So if you're interested in how the mega menu works and how you can get it to go from looking like, oh, not that, I'm gonna get rid of the accordion here, make it look like this, make it go from this, oh, to an entire, like a cool looking mega menu like the one that exists on Evernote, then you can go check that other video out on the channel here. And then I think that brings us to the end of the mega menu, or the composite elements with the mega menu. So there's a ton of really cool stuff here. It's nice to have taken the time to look at how some of this stuff works, because I played with quite a few of them, but not all of them really in depth. So it's nice to see how all this stuff works. In particular, some of the ones that kind of surprised me were the number counters and the section indicator. It's pretty cool. I like that. And then image comparison is another cool one to have. So I have made myself a list of other tutorials to make. Alan, I definitely agree. The accordion repeater is one that we can do. Let me know if you guys prefer to see this stuff. Like if we're going to set up the accordion repeater, for instance, would you rather see that as a live video or as a proper, like tutorial edited video? I enjoy these lives, and hopefully you guys do too. So as always, I appreciate every single one of you watching. There's been a lot of you here the entire time, and I sincerely appreciate that. So I do have to run. I have some client work I need to get to and an appointment later today. So I need to run for now. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the very near future. Bye for now.